I wanted to tell a story. It's a story of information. It's a story of power. The story starts in 1964, when a powerful politician looked to silence a movement. Better yet, a revolution. Unfortunately for the politician, the movement was led by a man that represented more than most. And when he tried to suppress the man in the movement, he failed. The politician was J. Edgar Hoover. The movement was civil rights. And the man was Martin Luther King Jr. And when J. Edgar Hoover spied on Dr. King, learning of his extramarital affairs, he did what any self-respecting politician would do. He blackmailed the opposition, writing an anonymous letter to Dr. King, enticing him to commit suicide, or else Dr. King refused to cave. Fortunately for everyone here today, Dr. King represented an idea, a dream, really, larger than himself. You see, before an idea such as civil rights can come into fruition, it has to go through a variety of steps, of phases. First, it starts off as being blackballed. Then, it becomes widely known about, but isn't generally accepted. Next, it finally becomes accepted by society, and only finally does it become legal. And this entire process can take decades to happen. So what does this have to do with cybersecurity? This story may have taken place over 50 years ago, but it's just as pertinent today. As governments of yesterday look to influence the course of social movements, governments of today look to poison political elections. And this is all just the beginning. You see, information exists to be used or abused. And all technology does is help amplify this power. Technologies like the internet have the capability to turn any psychopath into your next-door neighbor. In his last months in office, even President Obama had admitted he underestimated the capability of cyber attacks. Every day, our dependence is growing exponentially on technology that we know less and less about. You may be familiar with the case with Ms. Teen USA, Cassidy Wolf, who just a few years ago had her webcam hacked. Without her knowledge, numerous pictures of her were taken. Some of those photos were of her naked, being that her laptop light out in what she thought was her private bedroom. But what you maybe didn't hear about is that same hacker did the same thing to almost 150 women in total. None of which were celebrity targets, all of which were just ordinary people. These were people's sisters, people's daughters, people just like you and me. It sounds a bit far-fetched, but it can happen to even the best of us. This past Christmas, my niece received the coolest gift. It was this teddy bear that lets friends and family send audio messages anywhere with the internet connection to her, straight to the bear. But what you maybe didn't hear about is that the same teddy bear was leaking millions of messages across the entire internet. And just last month, it was released that Cloud Pets had been leaking these for months. Everyone is fair game. Anyone can be next. In the United States alone, there are almost 18 million victims of identity theft each and every year. That translates to a new victim every 2 seconds. So how easy is it? I'll put it to you this way. If on the way home tonight, someone cuts me off on the freeway, just using their license plate number, within 10 minutes, I can call them and recite back to them their social security number. It's that easy. Right now, the average identity, social, date of birth, etc., goes for about $21 on the dark web. But the days of having to worry about someone compromising your social security number will soon be a fear of the past, and instead will become the social norm. Because in the future, hackers won't care about your social security number. Instead, they will steal your genetic code. And those cute peeping toys, those will become a minor concern, as all of your home electronics will plot against you. If you don't believe me, it's already in the works today. Just a few years ago, the Supreme Court had ruled that a person's discarded tissue and cells are not their property and can be commercialized. All right, so who cares if pharmaceutical companies can take your old blood samples, run them through big data analytics, and target you for hemorrhoids medication you didn't even know you needed? Want revenge on an ex? post their DNA online, proving that they're high risk for cancer or dementia. It'll ruin their chances of ever finding a husband or spouse forever. And forget about the days that you had to worry about someone stealing your identity and posting it on the dark web. Because in the future, when Microsoft leaves a flaw in their code, it doesn't mean that someone hacks into your webcam. Instead, it will mean someone takes control of your assistant robot, and it stands in your bedroom doorway at night, holding a knife, watching you sleep. This is the dawn of a new era, but there is hope, and I'll be sharing several things we can do to protect ourselves. But the problem is, we can't protect what we don't understand. And as humans, we're horrendously secure at understanding risk when it comes to technology. Take the test for yourself. Would you jump into a self-driving Uber car? I mean, it sounds cool, but whereas we might understand the risks of, say, driving through a tornado or a hailstorm, we inherently don't know the risks of self-driving cars. I mean, what are the chances of a hacker taking control of the steering wheel or pumping the brakes in the middle of rush hour traffic? Honestly, even I don't know. But what I do know is regardless, in the next few years or so, people will be jumping in these self-driving vehicles without giving it a thought more. And the problem is today, everything is turning into a computer. Your car, it's just a computer that you sit in. Your refrigerator, it's just a computer that makes ice. And those cute cuddly teddy bears? I think you get the idea. Before, our dependence on technology was relatively minimal, but today it's fundamental. Take this as an example. If a few years ago you're writing an essay or a letter in Microsoft Word and it crashes, I mean, I hope you saved it. But what happens when a similar piece of software is running something like, say, a pacemaker, and that crashes? You die. I'll be sharing several things we can do to protect ourselves, and it really comes down to two key things. First is we have to demand accountability. The vast majority of software is horrendously insecure. The truism in industry goes as follows. Pick two of the three, you will never have all three. Good, fast, and cheap. Good, fast, cheap. And more often than not, fast and cheap win, and it's by a landslide. Quality is just something we don't know how to test for in computer security. You can't just hire a Consumer Reports underwriter to come in and give you a scale of 1 to 10 of how secure your software is. Because when governments say that they're actually introducing backdoors into a system that only they can take advantage of, they're lying. There's no way that you can insert a backdoor into a system that only the good guys know about and not the bad guys. Even certain presidential candidates had to learn this one the hard way. Next is we have to enact legislation to protect our personal data. Right now, we already have some protections for certain types of data. Credit card data, healthcare data, and other first world countries have protections for personal data. But in the United States, we have none. To this point, we have left the forces to the markets, and the markets have failed us, which makes sense since they inherently work with short time horizons and are usually profit-driven. But that's changing. Take this as an example. If you have your iPhone and there's a security vulnerability in it, Apple takes a few days, comes out with an update, and in a few days, you're updated and you're secure. But what happens when your internet-connected thermostat is under attack? And it's the middle of wintertime, and it gets shut down. I mean, I pretty much plan on getting a new phone every 2 years or so, but when do I plan on getting a new thermostat? I mean, pretty much never. With the creation of new technologies, whether it be automobiles, radio, nuclear power, there are new federal agencies that are brought on the board to help protect those technologies, and it's time for computer software. Because when technology starts killing people, there will be consequences. In closing, we must act now, but not out of fear, because acting out of fear is almost as reckless as not acting at all. I'll leave everyone with one last thought. When top security strategists were asked, what is your worst case cybersecurity nightmare? Some answers range from North Korea dropping an EMP bomb on the United States that would be able to wipe out all electronics instantaneously, taking us back to the Stone Age overnight, to full-blown cyber warfare, where electrical power plants will be knocked off the grid one by one across the country. What is my worst case cybersecurity nightmare? My worst case cybersecurity nightmare is a society that we do nothing but think about worst case cybersecurity nightmares, because it leads to bad process, it leads to bad technology, and it leads to bad security. If you don't believe me, think about it next time you're walking through TSA security. Similar to the scientists in the movie Jurassic Park, just because we can do something doesn't mean we should. Thank you.